Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. I just wanted to introduce myself. I am Janna. I'm one of the clinical integration specialists here at uLab, and I'm so glad that everybody was able to attend this today. We're going to go over the uDesign Cloud 2.0, our newest update, as most of you know. A few things that we're going to cover today. And I just want to kind of go over a few things beforehand. The cloud access requires versions 10 or higher. We do recommend updating to the 10.4, which I will show you once I am on the cloud where you guys can find that. UAssist will require the UD10 and the cloud. If you are going to stay on UD 9.1 or earlier, it is supported by uAssist and the desktop ordering, but is not supported by the cloud access. So just kind of keep that in mind. Um, with the uDesign Cloud 2.0 new features that I'm going to go over with you today is going to be the retainer fast track, your self-planning, alignment options when you're selecting multiple teeth, and the copy and paste attachments. Add all attachments, which is great because that's also in the software now. And then your IC button on the staging bar, exporting your SDLs, scanner integration, and your Social 6 Smart RX form is one of our newest prescriptions that we have. So with the different features, we're going to go over that. The other thing I wanted to mention is we do have a YouTube channel that has a great resources for different videos that we have put together as a team, as the clinical team, but there's also a great amount of webinars on there and other doctors that have been presented for us. So definitely go there. I think it's just a great source of information, especially if you're not sure how to use something. And yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into. So here I'm just going to go right into our cloud presentation. So I want to just start with one of the things that I know comes up a lot is when you're utilizing the cloud, especially if you're utilizing it with a Mac. I know Safari is a very popular web browser, but we do recommend that you use your Chrome browser, whether no matter what you're using for your computer system. Also making sure that your Chrome is up to date. I'll always say that because sometimes that can cause some issues with certain platforms using certain platforms in Chrome. And if you need to, sometimes cleaning out your cookies and your cache. So two things that we always kind of seem to run into if somebody's having any trouble uploading their scans and things like that. So in here, we're just going to go over first to the right-hand side here where your settings are. In the settings, you've got your clinical settings, and then you can see that we have a new STL printing setting. So if you guys are printing in Office, whether it's standard model, direct print aligner, or Lux Creo, these are going to be your defaulted settings for that. So today I'm just going to show, you can see in here that we do have them defaulted specifically, but you can always make these changes, whether in your own settings or when you're actually going to print your models. You can actually make changes for that specific patient. So again, just making sure that these are set up before you do start printing. You can see here that if you are doing a hollow model or if you're doing a solid model, you do have that option as well. And again, we're always here for support if you need it. You'll see the drop down that if you do use the direct print aligner, you can set that up as your defaulted setting, or if you're doing the Lux Creo. And again, more information on that if need be. Next one is going to be your smart templates, smart RX templates. We now have added the social 6, which is again, just doing upper and lower 3 to 3, quick little movements. So it's a little bit less information, but again, the more information that we give to our uAssist team to set up these cases, the better that cases are going to come back. and to your liking, so there's less of that, back and forth modification. So I always like to point out the additional instructions. I think this is really important, that whatever you're, wanting for that specific case, specifically more complex cases, you want to make sure that you have all of the details in there. Super important. Next one, we're going to go into our scanner integration. So in here, what you'll do is you'll click on the drop down. You'll choose 3Shape, Meta, or Allied Star, depending on what you are using in the office. And you just want to simply connect. Once you connect, what it's going to do is send you typically to the website of the scanner, and you'll make sure that you've added uLab as one of your labs to choose from. And then what will happen is when you create that new patient, you're going to have a spot where you'll get to actually choose your scanner integration, which will bring up all of your patients. What that will do is bring in the first and last name, date of birth, and then also the upper and lower scans. So it's a great feature if you have any of those scanners. One more thing, and I know that this isn't a new, this isn't new to the cloud, but I think the office workflow is really important. And I don't know if it's always getting utilized, but making sure that communication with your team, or your clinic or just your lab techs is really clear. And I think this one is important when, again, you're setting up these cases, or say your lab is just bringing these cases in for you. You want them to make sure that they're assigning them to you as the clinician. So making sure that you guys are utilizing this, I think, is super important. When you're in this screen here, you're going to see your workflow. So if it's under doctor, you can just simply click on this workflow, select doctor, and then you'll see everything that you need to make sure that you're getting done. Once you're finished with those cases, you can then assign them to your lab techs, or maybe to your clinical team for them to review, or maybe just place the order, or again, print the case for you. So that's something I kind of wanted to add in there. Um, so first thing I'm going to go over is our fast track retainer. Great add to the cloud. I think this is going to be just a lot quicker for you to be able to send those cases in, whether it's a bracket removal or you're just scanning the patient for retainers. It's going to allow you to upload that and send it right into to order, which is great. So I'm going to just kind of start by showing that to you guys. And again, always want to making sure that you're putting in first and last name. Again, if you have that, integration, great, because you'll have that little drop down button right here where you'll be able to click on it and it will add that patient in when you select them. And date of birth. And then again, you just want to make sure that you assign it to the correct clinician if you have a couple doctors. This note section, just keep in mind, is just for the internal notes within the office. This isn't going to necessarily, this won't go to the UAssist team. So just kind of keep in mind, but it is definitely a nice way to, again, communicate with whether it's your lab and you want them to know something. I'm going to click Add Patient. And then from here, you're going to see this look a little bit different. So you can either select to send to uAssist, self-plan, which we're going to go over next, and then your retainer fast track. So that's what we're going to choose today. And then I just want to simply make sure that I have obviously exported my SDLs, or again, if you have that integration, and then I'm just going to simply drag and drop those into my upload. Once that's done, you just want to make sure it's the correct patient and click next. Once we get into the next screen, you're going to see we just have a very basic prescription that is set up in here. Again, this will go to the uAssist team, so you want to make sure that you have all the correct information on here. In this case, I do want them to remove brackets. If I do decide that I want them to add bite ramps or pontics, you're going to see that this approve requested is going to be highlighted. This allows you to get that case back, review it, make sure that they're in the position you want them to, or the pontics, either way, and then you can go ahead and order. If I decide that I don't want to have to approve it, I'm trusting that everything will be fine, which it will be. You'll then just make sure that you're again, you're not going to approve it. You just want to get that right out to manufacturing. I'm just going to put NA in here because there's really nothing else I need to add. And then I click my next button. Once I click that next button, it's just going to review everything that's on here is correct, and it's going to bring me right into the ordering screen. So this is where you can choose whether you want to do a set of retainers or two sets of retainers, choosing our retainer bundle, which will also include that bracket removal, and you'll see that breakdown here. I'm going to choose the four retainer bundle because I think this is one that comes up a lot where you have to remember to add that extra retainer. Okay. So when selecting, you want to highlight the R, click the plus sign to add that extra set of retainers, and then click the next button. In this section is where you can choose, just like with our aligners, you can choose that terminal molar coverage. So this is where I just want to make sure, maybe it's a patient that doesn't have fully erupted second molars, or maybe it's an older patient, I want them to have a hard time getting those in and out. I can go ahead and select that different coverage, and then I click next, and again, brings me right into my ordering screen. As some of you know, and if you don't, you can choose an alternate address. So this is a great option if you have a patient specifically going off to college, they can't get back in the office, something like that, someone moves. You can choose that alternate address to add in there as long as it's not a PO box. And then you still have the option to choose Priority Express if you'd like to for an additional charge, but typically it's premium shipping. And it's about 5 business days, but we do recommend scheduling the patient 2 weeks out. Um, if you have your custom branding set up, which we're going to cover as well, because I think it's a super important marketing tool for your practice, you'll have that selected as well. And then I'm just going to simply click review, make sure everything looks okay, make sure all of the retainers that I needed were added. Um, and again, this will go to the uAssist team. They're going to remove those brackets for us, and then it's going to go right into manufacturing. Always like to double check to make sure this is correct. We've got our 4 retainers on here, delivery service, packaging. Again, that custom packaging will be included in the bundle, and then just simply hit submit to uAssist and place order. So very, very easy, mainstreamed. I think that again, I'm going to go a little bit into the settings over here, but your custom packaging is super, I think it's super important. It's included with the bundles, and not only that, but again, you're marketing your practice. Your patients are walking out with your name on the boxes, on the little pouches, and their retainer cases. And I mean, they're out at the baseball games or at different functions, and they're pulling these out and they're seeing your name. So I think that's really important. If you guys do have the opportunity to take a look at that in the cloud and you haven't set it up yet, super easy. You just add new customer, new custom packaging, and then you just click on these to upload. You just want to make sure it's a JPEG, PNG type of format. Okay, so it's so funny. I feel like I want to ask anybody if they have questions, but that's at the end. So next one's going to be our self-planning. The self-planning feature in the cloud is awesome. We have it set up where you will have the segmentation go through AI. So it actually will do all of if you're doing it now in the software, it's like choosing the colors, making sure the pattern's correct, long axis lines, occlusal groove lines, things like that. You don't need to do that now. So it's actually going to do that for you. You do have the ability to check all of that at the end. So as I go through this, I'm just gonna, again, selecting my patient, adding it, bringing in those STLs. Instead, I'm going to actually choose self-planning. Again, this can be for an aligner or retainer. I do want to note we do not have a bracket removal tool yet in the cloud. That will be coming. So right now, if you are doing manually removing brackets yourself in the software, you want to do that in the software. But again, we have this fast track retainer where you can have the uAssist team do it. Um, So I'm again going to bring in my upper and lower scans, making sure it's the correct patient, which is great. Hit next. Now, the next window, if you're doing self-planning, you can bring the photos and x-rays in. I think it's just easier for the clinician to be able to pull them up in the cloud versus having them on their separate, software management. But that's really up to you how you want that flow to go. The other thing to keep in mind too, if you're doing a self-planning case, and what if you decide to send it to USS because it gets a little bit too maybe too complicated. Maybe there's more movements that you need to do, and it's like, or you just don't have time. You'll have those photos and x-rays already uploaded for that to be able to do that. So I'm going to do that today and drag those right in here. Now, once I drag these in, another great feature I love is our AI feature. I think that comes up a lot too, where people not sure what that is. What it's going to do is sort out all those photos and x-rays for you, especially if you didn't bring them in as a composite. Just makes it a lot quicker and easier. The next window we're going to come into is that segmentation portion. So you'll see on the right, the AI is preparing the case for self-planning. It could take up to 3 minutes. So what I'm going to do while that's happening is I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to go over with you guys a little bit of a different feature that I think is really important to understand, and that is your on hold cases. So attention needed. What am I doing with this? So I'm going to click on this case just to kind of show you. I have two different ways, two different cases. One of them is on hold that needs new scans, and one of them just needs an answer to the UAssist team to let them know what you want them to do. So this right here says on hold. Please verify if you'd like to keep or remove the fixed upper lingual retainer. So I'm going to open this case again while that other case is in the background segmenting for me. So time management, work smarter, not harder. Um, and in a minute, I'm just going to show you really quick how easy it is to resolve these. Again, it's really when you get those emails, attention needed, I'm going to let them know by clicking reply that I want to leave it, please. Or maybe I want them to remove it because I forgot to put that in the prescription. So please remove lingual retainer. Once I do that, I click the send button. That then gets resubmitted back to uAssist, letting them know, keep the retainer in. Now you can proceed with my case. So again, super easy, super quick. This next one's a little bit different. This one is where the scan isn't any good. Maybe there's some holes in the scan, maybe there's some like missing data on some of the teeth and they need a new scan, or maybe the scan and the photos don't match and they're just wondering, okay, is this the correct bite? These are things again that we need to properly a treatment plan. So what I'm going to do is click on this upload scans. Two things here. If the scans need to be replaced, I'm just going to click on this little X right here, and I'm going to go ahead and drag the correct scans in. Now, if the scan is correct, and you don't want to change them, and maybe the photos there's a discrepancy there, you can just simply put a note down here. You can put that you uploaded new scans, or scans are correct, photos, maybe there's just a discrepancy and you want to upload and change the photos. It's completely up to you how you do that. But again, both ways that you can do that, and then just say, please proceed with case. Or if there's any other notations you need to send to the UAssist team, letting them know, what's going on with that scan or the photos. Once I click update, it's then going to update it to the UAssist team, and then you can go ahead and close your case. So again, just two things we always like to kind of go over because those are things that come up a lot. Now we're in the tooth moving screen. So a couple of features that we have added into the cloud that a lot of people had requested is we have our straighten more button. So basically what it's going to do is allow you to select multiple teeth to just kind of quickly move those teeth and set that case up for you. So if I select on a specific tooth and I hit the control button, you'll see over here alignment. Once I click on alignment, that's going to go ahead and move those teeth based on the patient's natural arch form. From there, I can go ahead and I can just select on a single tooth make some movements that I need to. Um, Showing us again where we have those collision and spaces. I always like to point that out because the red does mean that there's some collisions that need to be resolved. Whether it's resolving it in the movement in your treatment plan or adding some IPR that needs to be staged there. Okay. Our IC button is down here now. This is just going to really quickly show you your initial and your current movement of those teeth. I think this is nice just to be able to show your patient's chair side. I'm going to make a little bit of a crazy movement because I want to also go into the attachment portion. So just like with the software, we have an add all button. The add all button is going to add those attachments on based on the movement of those teeth. Okay, so the AI is going to take the movement, whether it's extruding, tipping, torquing, rotating, and it's going to add attachments on in the placement that it needs to be. Doesn't mean you need to leave them there, but I just to let you guys know that's how the add all works. So I'm going to do a little rotation on this tooth because if I do, I know it's going to add that attachment on for me. Um, Over here on the right-hand side, you're going to see we have a couple different tools. The second one is the staging. This has been in there. Again, that's where your staging IPR is, which I'll go over a little bit with you as well. And then this is your attachments. So if you click on attachments and you click add all, again, it's going to place those attachments where that attachment is needed. Another new feature that we've added into the cloud is being able to copy and paste. So if you spend a lot of time on fixing, maybe it's a sizing or maybe it's, the depth of a specific attachment and you really like the way it looks and you want to place it on another tooth where you're doing the same movements, you can just click, Control C. And then we're going to go right over to the right-hand side here, and I'm just going to actually place it on the other canine just because. And then from here, if you need to position it a little bit differently, you can. But again, that copy and paste feature is just saves you a ton of time. Um, Going into the staging of IPR. So one of the things that it's going to do now and has been, this is a feature we've had in our software and in the cloud is it's going to let you know when there's collisions. And the reason for that is because, well, we want you to have a successful treatment plan. And if you have collisions that are in there and that IPR hasn't been staged yet, two things can happen. One, maybe you don't stage it. Maybe you just pull up the cloud and you say, okay, these are where I have my collisions and this is where I need to do the IPR. Well, what you can do too is if I go into my staging IPR, it's going to actually show me where my collisions are starting. So in red, starting at 1, it's showing me that I'm going to have some collisions. So I know in the very beginning of this treatment plan, I need to make sure that I stage it at the beginning. Once I do that, it's going to make that staging summary report for me. And just to kind of show you a little bit of what it would look like if I didn't. So if I go in and I want, okay, I'm going to order this or I'm going to print this now. So if I come over here to this little hamburger button, you're going to see Export STL. Once I click that, it's going to ask me to save my changes. And then it's also going to let me know that I have some collisions that haven't been resolved. And again, it's just a safety feature, but then it's also going to give me a breakdown of where those collisions are happening. And it's just taken a few extra seconds. Um, so right here, collision warning, I can either have it show me the details or I can just click resolve. Once you click resolve, that's going to allow you to stage that IPR where it needs to be staged. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to click on my little plus sign here, and it's going to go ahead and stage that for me. Now, if you don't want to do it all in the very beginning, you can always change this right here to say maybe you want to do 0.2, but remember, you want to make sure that you're staging it where those collisions are happening, okay? Once I close out of that, I'll be able to see that now in my summary report. So that is going to show me my staging right there. You're also going to see your attachments too, just in case anybody's wondering about our summary report. It does give you all of the breakdown of the auxiliaries and even your dental chart. If you're ordering from us, you will see the summary report in the box. If you're not, you can simply click on this little print and you'll be able to print it for in-office printing. Um, and I know I talked to a doctor today and she wasn't sure she could, change the velocity. You can change your velocity as well in here. So it's a great, again, another great way to kind of not have to use the desktop app. Down here is your model correction tool. So one of the things I kind of wanted to go over with you guys is that segmentation portion that it brings you through. If you're working on a case and you're feeling like the tooth's maybe moving a little funny, or maybe the segmentation's off a little bit, maybe it didn't cover a tooth properly, or maybe it's too much gum tissue it covered. If we go into check segmentation, this is going to bring it in where we can adjust the color. We can add a tooth. We can exclude a tooth. Okay. Another feature is being able to do the check labeling. It is going to tell me it's going to delete my treatment plan, so I'm not going to do that. But if you do need to check the labeling of the teeth, make sure that you're doing that before your treatment plan. Check your bite registration, check your spacing, check orientation, or check your model surface. So you have a model and maybe there's a little bit of saliva somewhere, or, when they did the scan, or maybe there is a tooth that needs a restoration and you just want to kind of fill that area so that, it's not sucking right into that tooth. If we click on this cut and fill button, this will allow us to just paint in the area that we need to, and you're going to see this cut and fill pop up. Same thing with our in and out tool. So if you have an area that you feel like the patient has some recession and maybe you want to just create a little bit more digital data there, it'll allow you to go out or in. So if I clicked on the out button and I move this around and I just left click and I just kind of paint over that as if I'm painting it, you're going to see that it's going to create some digital data there for me. So it's actually going to build data onto that tooth. And then the other one is our smoothing tool. So again, if somebody did a bracket removal, they brought it in through the software, doc comes in here and starts to do treatment planning, and they're seeing a little bit of maybe leftover, you know, cement or something like that, you can come in here with the smoothing tool and smooth it down. Anything you do, you can always hit the undo button or reset at any time. So the next one we're going to go into is our print button. So up here in the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to click on this little hamburger and I'm going to hit Export STL. What this is going to do, again, just like in the software, it's going to bring you into that print screen. You're going to see a couple different options. Definitely same options that you would see in the software. And it's also going to also go through each one of them where you can actually change them, like I had mentioned. So for a specific patient, if you wanted to change maybe where the label is, maybe we want to put it on the bottom instead of on the buccal wall, you can do that. And you can always preview it as well. One of them that I always feel like gets overlooked a little bit is our digital fill option. This one is great for the cases where you need to add a little bit of digital fill because say it's an older patient, or maybe the patient has some recession or a tooth is missing. We have this bridge option, so it eliminates you from having to use any putty or acrylic. It's just messy. It tends to get messy inside the aligner. I have former experience as an ortho assistant, and I can remember using that kind of putty blue material and then having to scrub it out of the retainer afterwards. It's a mess. So again, work smarter, not harder, right? So we can come in here and you can actually select whether you want anterior, posterior, or individual teeth. So if I just blow this up a little bit, I'm going to choose posterior. And I'm just going to do the buccal side to show you. If I click on this little arrow, this little button down, not really arrow, but little button down here, I can actually add or take away that digital fill. So you can see here it adds a little bit more. Maybe we don't want to do any fill at all in the anterior. Say you have, you have a really big diastema, or not even a big one, a small diastema that you're having a hard time closing. you can actually remove that digital fill on the anterior for that reason. So again, very, very optional, and it depends on the patient. And then again, if you do have a patient that's missing a tooth, it creates that little bridge where you can actually change the width, the height, and even the angle. So if you had like a molar that was kind of tipped, you could change the angle of that waxing tool. So it gives you definitely a lot of options in that way. Um, so I'm happy with the way everything looks. I'm gonna now output these. So I'm just gonna do the template and the first aligner because maybe that's all I want to get the patient started on, and then order the rest of the aligners from uLab. It really depends on how you guys have this set up. Great option to be able to do both because remember, you can get that patient started a lot quicker. Um, Once I click the next button, it's going to tell me that it's going to be preparing the download. Keep in mind, in the same thing in the software, it does take a couple seconds for it to export certain stages. So this may take a little bit of time. Um, Usually it's about 13 seconds per stage, if that. And it also depends on how quick your internet is. You know, if you've got fast internet, if we're on a Zoom call, that tends to slow things down too. But it's pretty quick. I was one with an office yesterday actually, and she was telling me that it's actually quicker to export from the cloud than it is from her computer because it's so slow. So that was great feedback. While that's happening, like I said, we can go into another tab. One of the things that I wanted to go over today is how to submit a refinement. This one comes up a lot, and I think it depends on whether you want to send it to uAssist or you want to do self-planning. So if we open this case, and I'm going to actually open the initial case, um, what I'm going to show you is kind of two ways that you can do it. Again, you're submitting to uAssist, we'll go through that way. And then if you're doing self-refinement. So on the upper right-hand corner here, you're going to see this little hamburger in a second once it opens for me. Um, let's see if this is done. That's still processing. My internet might be a little slow today. But what's going to happen is it's going to give me a little hamburger option up here in the upper right. I can either submit my refinement to uAssist, refinement self-planned, or if I just want to export this. So I'm going to select refinement, submit to uAssist. And oh, there we go. Look at that. While we were waiting, this was all exporting for me. So over here, what I always like to recommend is looking at the model when before you export it. Okay. And I probably shouldn't be jumping around too much, but that's one of the things you want to make sure you're looking at. Um, so we're in the refinement screen. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to upload my new scans, send them over to the uAssist team. Again, we're going to just drop and drag these right in here, making sure that everything looks okay, and then clicking the next button. Again, remember with the refinement, you don't have to upload new photos, but what I would recommend is if you do have a case where a patient goes off track, patient disappears for a year, we've seen this happen, and they come back and their teeth have shifted quite a bit. That's when I would say you definitely want to make sure that you're uploading new photos. That way the team knows, wait a minute, why does this not look the same as it should have ended? And that just kind of gives them, again, more information. I'm going to skip that part and I'm just going to go right into the prescription. Here's where you just want to let them know, is it for a final retainer? It's not. We're actually going to do some alignment. So what I'm going to do is select my stages, and then I want to let them know, are we going to do additional attachments as needed? If I say yes, it will ask you, and this is optional, whether or not you want to put which teeth you want to add new attachments onto. Again, removing scanned attachments, obviously specifying, please remove attachments on, say, the upper fours or whatever you want them to do there. And then putting in your refinement request. Again, detail, super important. A lot of people just say, please continue aligning upper and lower. That's the awesome information, except with a refinement, you want to be more specific because you may not be moving 6 to 6 or 7 to 7. You may just want them to align, please can, align upper right one, extrude by however many millimeters. I think, again, you don't have to get into super, super specific detail, but letting them know exactly what it is you want them to align. Once you've done those notes, I'm just going to say, please align upper 2 to 2 and maybe extrude lower um, lower sixes or something weird. Let's just put that in there. Then I can also select the area that I want them to do the IPR. So if the case does need IPR, we want to know. If it doesn't, it's not applicable, that's fine. Equal number of aligners, that's again an option that you want to have, especially if you're specifically doing a certain kind of bundle or what type of case it is for that patient. And then what's your wear time? 7 days, 14 days, 10 days, you want to make sure you specify that in as well. Um, Once I get to this point, I can hit next. Oop, and I forgot to do something here, so it's going to let me know that. If you have your staff submitting cases for you and you want to make sure you're reviewing this information before it's actually submitted, you can click save and continue later. That is definitely an option, and I'll show you what that looks like. Again, this is if you have somebody submitting it for you, you want to go back in and just kind of look at it, and then you can go ahead and submit it to the team. I do think it is also important to say, like with your initial cases, you also have this option as well. I think that, let me just clear this. There we go. I'm going to put in web. Tried to name these a little bit better here. So submit to uAssist is what you're going to see in there. So if we click on this and then we click on submit refinement to uAssist, it's going to bring us back into that case and that prescription, and it's going to allow me to submit it to the uAssist team. So again, different options that you have for that refinement. All right, now bouncing back over to my exporting STL. So if I'm happy with the way everything looks in the scan, I can go ahead and hit output save STL files. Um, I usually you don't have to hit the back button. I would say if you are having some trouble with, what it looks like and how you want to have it set up, that's when you want to go back in there. As long as the labeling and everything looks okay, you can go ahead and hit output and save STL. It will let you know that you're going to be invoiced for the export. Keep in mind, you will only be charged once. So if you have a case where you're exporting a retainer, patient loses their retainer in a few months from now, and you have to export it again. You only get charged that one time. So you will see this pop up. I do get that question a lot. Just make sure that you know that this is just an automated pop up, just letting you know you're going to be invoiced, but you won't be after that first export. I'm going to say yes to exporting it out. And just like with the software, it goes into a specific folder. It actually goes into your downloads folder as a zipped file. So I'm going to drag this over here to show you guys. Here's my output, my template, and my first aligner. I can then take these, drag them into a specific folder. Maybe it's a shared folder on your entire network. And then that other person that's doing your lab work can then take those and put them into your printer. Or you just want to take them and drag and drop them into your printer build plate. It really depends on how you want to do that, but that's where you'll find them is in that download section. Once everything is completed, I can then close out of my case. One thing I do want to keep, I want you guys to keep in mind is when you're closing these cases out, it's really important you just don't close out the tab. You want to make sure you're closing it out, clicking on this X. What you're going to see then is the assign to, that assign to office workflow. So now I know this is complete. I can just put in here that it's done. So now I know it's not going to be in my workflow column. So I know that that job is completed. Um, so again, making sure that you're closing these out properly is super, super important. Especially again, for the workflow purpose part of it. I think, sometimes we want to just click, click, click happy, but we want to make sure that we get that done. So I think that covers everything that we wanted to talk about today. I want to just mention that we do have some remaining features that we are adding into the cloud. So know that we're not just going to say, okay, this is it. Some of the features that we are going to be adding in are going to be the EasyRx integration. So if you're using EasyRx, we are going to be setting that up as well. Attachment and custom protocol default settings, we're going to be adding that in. Adding Pontics and eruption domes, which is going to be amazing. And then manage spaces, guided setup, global movement, AP corrections, auto staging, advanced sequencing, and IDB. When that's going to happen, I do not know. We don't have a date yet, but we're definitely, just so you guys know, we're adding in new features. And the great thing about the cloud is we're able to do it so quickly and so easily. There's no updating the software like before, where it's going to update for you because it's internet based. But um, with that, I think, wow, it's 1:42. I can't believe I've been talking this whole time. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'm going to
Yeah,
stop share if
and
that
Janna,
works.
yeah, that would be great. I'm going to go ahead and read off some of the questions that came through.
Okay.
But before I do that, I just also wanted to mention, with uDesign Cloud, as many of you know, uDesign Cloud is available for our US customers. So I just wanted to call that out just in case there was people outside the US on the call, at least they would know why they may not have seen this before.
Okay.
So one of the first questions that we got was, I've never used cloud version. I only use the software. What's the difference? Um, and so Jana, I don't know if you want to answer that or if you want me to.
If you, I mean, I feel like I just
Yeah,
talked a lot. If you want to answer the
yeah,
first one, that would be
sure.
wonderful.
All right. So, as you guys saw, uDesign Cloud is web-based, which allows you to access your cases from any computer with an internet connection. And as Jana mentioned, Chrome is the browser that, the preferred browser to use. So that's what we would recommend. One thing to keep in mind is currently uDesign Cloud and uDesign Desktop version 10 or above. So currently we're on version 10.4 for the desktop. They work in conjunction with one another. However, as you heard from Jana, not all the features have been moved to the cloud yet. So depending on how you treatment plan your cases, you may need to still use the desktop application to be able to access some of those features. Otherwise, as time goes on, more and more features will be added to cloud. So hopefully that helped to answer your question. Another question that came through, which kind of goes along the same format, does this mean desktop is not available anymore or won't work anymore? The answer is no, that is not correct. uDesign Desktop does still work and it works together with cloud as long as you are on that version 10 or above. And so you can access all of your cases, whether you're in the desktop version or in the cloud version. And what's nice is you'll be able to open up cases chairside to show your patients their treatment plan, or just be able to utilize a chairside refinement or something to that effect. Another question that came through is, what if we're using a scanner that's not on the list? As you heard, Jana shared that we integrate with Allied Star, Medit, and 3Shape scanners currently. We're always going to be looking to integrate with more and more companies. So I would just keep your eyes open, and see what comes in the future. But we will definitely be adding more scanners in the future. I just don't have that list available to share with everyone.
And even if you don't have a scanner that's not listed on there, you can still export your STL files. That's what customers currently are doing now, that don't have those scanners. So just to add that in there.
Yeah, thanks, Jana. That's great. And then another question that came through is there a cost difference to use UAssist versus doing the plan yourself? Which is a great question. So,
Yeah.
depending on how you decide to order. So, if you send your case to UAssist and you order a bundle, the UAssist treatment planning fee is included in the cost of the bundle. If you decide to send your case to uAssist and you order a la carte, you will be invoiced for the uAssist treatment planning fee. And I would suggest if you have specific questions regarding pricing to just speak with your local sales representative. And then, of course, if you send the case to uAssist and you decide, I want to print this in office, then you will be charged that uAssist fee, and then you'll be able to export your STLs if you wish to print some or all in office. The next question that came through, when you're uploading records, does AI automatically sort, or do I have to click on AI sort?
You have
And
to click. Oh.
go ahead.
I was gonna say when you do go to do the upload, you in order for it to sort them for you like that, you do have to click the AI sort. Um, so sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. Another question that came through is how long does it take to hear back from the UAssist team typically? So this is kind of a two-sided question. So your initial submission, you want to allow up to 3 business days. Now, once you get your case back, if you request a modification, depending on what time of day, it's very likely that you would get that response or get that modification back to you on the same day or the following day. With the new feature added to Cloud of being able to copy and paste attachments, the way that that works is you just click on, you select the attachment, you click Control C to copy it, and then whatever tooth you click on next is where that will be pasted onto. And then the final question, oh no, I think there's actually
We have a
more.
couple more.
Um,
Yeah.
yes.
This
So
is great.
one of the next questions is when you click on resolve for IPR, does it automatically resolve the IPR for you, or do you have to do it manually? Jan, I'll let you
So
answer.
yeah, I was gonna say this. I feel like there's kind of two parts to this a little bit too, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but IPR needs to be manually staged where I was showing you. You click on the staging and then you want to make sure you adjust it and stage it to where you need to do it. And it's gonna show you in those red stages where it starts. So it doesn't automatically resolve it. So if you have a really crowded case, you probably need to open up a little bit of space for those teeth to get some wiggle room. So that kind of is like almost like a two-parter. So you want to make sure that you understand that like just clicking on it doesn't just automatically say, okay, now you're good. You want to make sure that you're looking at each one of those stages and making sure that that movement makes sense. And that movement can happen. And again, making sure the IPR is staged in that proper part of your staging of your treatment plan. So hopefully that wasn't too complicated, but yeah. So I love this. This is great. I love all these questions.
Perfect. Did you want to read the rest of them? You want me to read them off for
You can
you?
read them. Go ahead. You're doing a
Okay.
great job.
All right. So, is there a way to increase the font size on the label on the model? I notice it's smaller than the software version. So for STL exporting, and yes, there is a way to do that. You've got very similar tools in the cloud that you have in the desktop version, allowing you to increase the size of it.
I know I should have went over there. I will send you a little glimpse shot of where that is. Let's see if I can pull it up. I'm not sure if I can, but go ahead if you want to go to the next one.
So the another question that came through is, can iTero scanner be integrated? So unfortunately, we are not integrated with the iTero scanner. However, we are, if you use EasyRx, once we get that integration up and running, that should help you in that scenario. But you can certainly export those iTero scans manually and then drag and drop them right into the software. And then I believe we have a couple more questions. When you do a refinement and are starting at stage 17, for example, will the refinement be named stage 18 or will it be 1? So one of the things that we had previously was it used to continue the stage numbering. However, in recent versions, we changed that. So it starts over at one to kind of simplify it and just keep that process and the numbering a little bit easier and equal for both upper and lower.
Perfect.
If you input a case on the cloud version, does it still show up on the desktop version? Yes, it does. So you can bring a case in the cloud, or you can start a case in desktop. If you start a case in the desktop version, you will have to complete the segmentation in the desktop version. So that is something that you will have to go through tooth identification and segmentation. All right, so I think that is all of the questions. And I apologize. I think there was some people were having a hard time hearing Janna. We did record the webinar, so once we've got that recording ready and available, we'll certainly post it on our website as well as YouTube. And so if you needed to rewatch it or would like to rewatch it, you can do so at that time. But thank you
Sorry.
guys so
Sorry
much
about
for
that.
attending.
Yes, thank you for attending our webinar. I hope that everybody found this helpful and we'll hopefully be doing these more often. We'll see. But thank you for coming.